Good morning, everybody. It's Misha. I would like to talk to you guys about insulin resistance, what's going on with your health today. And so let's dive in. Look, there are a ton of things that are going wrong with our health, and most of them start from insulin resistance. Gotta make sure there. Um, so if you are on TikTok, all these things, weight loss, bloating, low energy, diabetes, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, thyroid problems, migraines, acid reflux, all of that and more links into insulin resistance. So let's talk about it. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you how you can get better from it. And then we're going to talk about how all of this links in. See that? I wiped my eye. All right. So, but first, I'm in Maryland today. Where's everybody else at? So, I love when we get people from around the world. A lot of times we have mostly US people in here, but I get Scotland, UAE, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and I really like to hear where everybody's from. So let me know. And it's Tuesday morning. How did everybody's Monday go? Good morning, Janice. Um, so we were talking, I was thinking about you all night, Janice, and the whole what time to eat things. So let's dive in a little bit. Please ask questions. Good morning, Melba. I'm back. Yay. So let's go over really briefly what insulin resistance is, so I can tell you why it's being caused, how we can get better from it, and a number of things along the way. Then we're going to talk about the timing of eating and what to eat that's going to help us with this. My black marked finger. Okay, so insulin resistance, it's very, very, very simple. Oh, no, I did not. I thought about it and then I got a call and got distracted. So let me write it down, Janice, and see if I can fix that today, because I know that's important for people. My phone was ringing before I even got off my live yesterday, both times. Okay, which is good. I like helping people. All right, so insulin resistance. You guys, when we eat, we need to understand that food at its basis is meant to be an energy source for our body. We've kind of convoluted that. Like, we've completely convoluted it. Like, yes, we want food to taste good. Yes, we want to be able to take in that nourishment. We've kind of taken it way over the edge. And what's happened as a process of us wanting food that's more delectable, that's more tasty, that all of that is we've stripped fibers and we've stripped nutrients from our food so that it has that sweet, juicy taste that we like. And when they started bashing fats, healthy fats, they had to replace those fats because fats give your food flavor with something, and that something happened to be sugar. So now we have a lot of refined sugar. We have foods that have been stripped of fibers. What's really happening is all of that energy is converting into blood sugar too quickly. And our body's only meant to have about a teaspoon of sugar in our bloodstream. Any more than that, and we start to have illness and problems. So when the body senses this going on, it cues an organ called the pancreas to produce a hormone called insulin. And insulin's job is to transport energy. Some people will call it the fat storing hormone. Some people will call it a lot of things. At its basis, insulin is an energy transport hormone. So we need it, and it's a primary hormone in our system. It is one that does, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have anything else. Like, every component in our body is important, right? But insulin is a primary hormone, which means it takes precedence over other hormones in the body. So we have energy that's converting too quickly in our system. That means we have insulin being out too often. So I want to break this down because this is something that's really, really driving me nuts right now. Because you guys, I bought into it too. That's how I ended up heavy. I started putting on weight in my 20s. I followed this thing that I'm going to talk about, and I lost weight at first, and then I kept gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. That thing is the eat every 2 hours or eat multiple small meals in a day. There are still people out there pushing that, and it's not science backed. There's no science behind that eat every 2 hours thing, making your metabolism work better. In fact, what it's doing is it's downregulating your metabolism, and it's keeping you in a state of insulin fed all the time. And that's not good for our body. Like, we have daytime so we can be up and active, we have nighttime so we can rest. Insulin has a component hormone called glucagon, but glucagon can never come out and do its job for our metabolism if insulin is always out. And when we eat every 2 hours, I'll break that down if anybody needs me to, because I forget. I know this, and not everybody does. But when we're eating all the time, what we're really doing is spiking our insulin. And the more we spike that insulin and the more we have insulin in the body, and the higher it gets, the longer it's going to stay high. So insulin equates to we're using sugar for fuel, and glucagon, the component hormone, equates to we're using fat for fuel. So when we have insulin resistance, we have too much insulin in our bloodstream, and we're running on sugar all the time. And then you're being told to eat every 2 hours. And so you're having more sugar enter your system. Whether you're eating clean or not, you're still having this problem. So we need to slow down on the eating. We need to back away from the plate. We need to give our body some time to adjust to allowing glucagon to come out and do its job, which means some intermittent fasting. And I know that's like horrible for most people to hear. They're like, I'm so food addicted. How could I ever fast? Well, fast is a kind of a big, scary word for people, and it doesn't need to be. So it is a beautiful day. I love that name. So you guys, what we really ought to be doing is when we have our dinner, we shouldn't be snacking after dinner. So say you have dinner at 6 p.m., all right? You don't have snacks afterwards. You go to bed. You wake up about 6 a.m. Guess what? You've already fasted 12 hours. So now to make a 16-hour fast, you've only got to go 4 more hours, which in that instance is about 10 a.m. And what makes it easy for me is I have a tea that I drink that helps me burn fat for fuel. So I'm having energy because I'm using my own fat for fuel. It gives me mental clarity. It gives me physical energy. And I don't even think about eating until about noon, actually. And then I have my first meal. I have fiber before that because it slows down the sugars. So you guys, it's not just any fiber. It's not just like psyllium husk. It takes a variety of fibers to do this. So you can choose to have a big plate full of fibrous foods, and hopefully you understand what adds fiber and what fiber is worth the glucose that you're taking in. Or anyway, so I don't want to do all of that every day, and I can't have all of that I just don't. Like, so I supplement, and I'll show you what that is later. But really, we need to get fiber in before we eat every time we eat, and that's going to help slow down this whole thing with insulin resistance, because it's a problem. It's a big problem for our world, especially when this used to be when we had type 2 diabetes, it used to be adult onset diabetes. And now it's children having type 2 diabetes because our food system is so jacked up and so stripped of what we need in it that it's causing this. Now, I've had pescatarians and vegetarians utilize the system that I'm using and find that they've gotten better as well, and realizing that our foods have been so modified that they're no longer the same to be, and our bodies are having troubles dealing with the intake of food. So eating too much, eating too often is causing a lot of problems for us. Does it have to be hard? Does life have to be like puritanistic and I can't have anything I like? No, it doesn't. That's not the point. I want it to be simple and easy. Hi, Lori. Good morning. And I want people to be able to realistically achieve their health goals and not get as sick as I did. So that was me over here in the side. You guys, I need to put that picture up. So over on the left side, that was me. How am I going to do this to make this? There we go. So me over here, In the middle is a friend, she's lost 50 pounds and gotten her diabetes under control, as well as helped relieve some long-standing anxiety and depression. Good morning, Robin. And then Cindy was not, she was pre-diabetic. Her husband was full-on type 2 diabetic and getting worse. They've both lost weight and reversed their numbers back to normal. Cindy has now lost over 120 pounds using the same system that I'm going to be talking about. So everything up above here um, is linked to insulin resistance. And that's important that we understand that, because here's the thing. How many of you guys have gone to doctors and asked for help? Like, for me, my story, I had blood pressure that wouldn't go down. My blood pressure was like 180 over 150 every day. The best we could get it to was about 150 over 110. They were cycling me through statins. Do you know what happens with statins? Statins make your insulin resistance worse. There's science behind that. So they're giving you a drug to bring your blood pressure down, but it's making this worse. And guess what? 95% of high blood pressure comes from insulin resistance. So you're going to the doctor and you're having this myriad of problems, and it feels like your body is falling apart and your health is falling apart, and your doctor's really not giving you help. Lily, I'm so sorry to hear that. So Lily says they killed her husband with their poison metformin. And I know that some doctors will say that, out of all of them, metformin is the best. So if this is happening with metformin, can you imagine the stories we're going to start hearing over the next 10 and 15 years about Mounjaro, Trulicity, Ozempic, semaglutide? Those things just I have a hard time. I could get in trouble, but I'm just going to say it because I can't not say it. Look, that's my personality. If I see something wrong everywhere in life, I'm going to be the one to speak up. So those drugs, I know that doctors are giving them to you. And a lot of people are just like trusting their physician, and they're like, okay, doc, whatever I got to do. So we need to lose weight. We need my mood better. We need whatever you want to give me Ozempic. All right, I'll take your Ozempic. They're different. Metformin and Ozempic are very different, but with those medications, they're called GLP-1 agonists. And gosh, there's just so much. I'm trying to figure out how to say all of this as simply as possible. So that hormone that allows you to burn fat that I was talking about, it dampens that hormone and says, don't come out anymore. It forces your body to put out more insulin. So let's think about that. Your pancreas is already overloaded, putting out so much insulin to deal with the food that we're eating. And then they give you a medication that's going to force your pancreas to put even more of that out. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but when I use my spidey senses, we'll call it, if I'm thinking that my pancreas is already overloaded in the state that it's in, and now those medications are going to force my pancreas to work harder, that can't be good in my world. Okay. So it's overworking the pancreas. And then I'm not saying that those medications cause that, so I'll save that for later. But it's been proven that those medications also make your fat cells like little bunny rabbits. People think that I'm born with the fat cells I have, and that's all the fat cells that I'll ever have. They just get bigger or smaller, and that's not true. Some of the population has this thing called hyperplasticity in their fat cells, where their fat cells replicate like little bunny rabbits. So when you're on those medications, it's cueing your body to create more and more fat cells. So now when you come off of those medications, you have more fat cells in your body, most likely. When you have not fixed the root cause, you're so welcome, Lillian. I'm so sorry for what's happened with you. I'm so sorry. But when you come off of those medications, now you have more fat cells, and you haven't been taught what the real root cause is. You haven't been told why this all happened to you in the first place, or addressed it in a real way. And now you're going right back to where you were, but now you have more fat cells. Guess what? Your A1C and your blood glucose won't go back up right away, because your insulin has this place to store that excess energy called those excess fat cells. But now you're getting bigger and heavier. Your A1C and your blood glucose look fine until you fill those fat cells up, and then your A1C and blood glucose go up again. So now you have problems. I personally have had people call me and tell me, Misha, I heard your live. I hear what you're saying. That drug destroyed my thyroid. That drug destroyed my kidneys. That drug gave me liver problems. That's not me saying it. This is people calling me saying this to me. So, yeah, I would. And here's the thing. This is one thing that I love to rely on. I've got to go back in all of my thousands of files and find the talk where Dr. Bickman was talking to a group of us. Got to meet him, like fangirl moment for me. Tom Cruise or Dr. Bickman? Dr. Bickman for me. Okay, so Why We Get Sick is the name of that book. Got to meet with him in person. He was asked, if you knew someone who was going to be put on metformin, or not metformin, but Ozempic or any of the GLP-1 agonists, what would you tell them? And he said, literally, he said, I would tell them to get off of them as quickly as they can. And I would tell everyone else not to get on them because of the damage they cause. Not only that, but we're already having problems building healthy muscle with insulin resistance. Those drugs are exacerbating that problem as well. So you may be losing weight, but you're losing, I'm sorry guys, I swear, I promise you, I'm so sorry, but I do. They cause you to lose a shit ton of muscle along the way. So yeah, what are you doing to get that weight loss? 300 plus bucks a month to lose muscle, to damage your organs, to have a problem that's just going to rebound on you in a few years. Yeah, I would keep refusing it, Miss Kitty. So I know I missed something up here. Oh yeah, they never reached out to you after that, and they won't. So look at, I worked in medical offices for years. I worked in some offices. I remember, hold on, let me hold that thought. Paul says they put me on metformin. You took one. It was like I was given a Valium and slept for 18 hours. My doc said he'd never seen that before. They put me on metformin too, and I couldn't tolerate it. I was so sick. My whole body hurt. I was nauseous. I like, graphic moment. So here we are. But I went up to my daughter's house for Christmas, and she's a single mom of 3 kids. So I'm sleeping on the couch. Got really sick after taking my dose of metformin. Woke up in the night, and I was still healing from a number of things. I ended up, when they say nausea and vomiting, you guys, I, at 2 a.m., blew chunks all over her kitchen, her hallway, and her bathroom, and I spent the rest of the night cleaning it up before the family got up. That's what metformin did for me. And I told the doctor, I can't do this. So I came off of metformin. Now, you guys, I do have, like, what I did to change it is 2 real food products that have been scientifically designed to be an alternative to those things, so that you're nourishing your body instead of damaging it. So that's all I did, and that's where we're at with this. Let's talk about, I was talking about how I worked in medical offices. So I worked in allergy offices, I worked in hormone offices, I worked in urgent cares, I took extra shifts everywhere I could. Single grandma struggling to pay the bills in a city that was growing too rapidly. And our rents had doubled in less than a year. So I'm doing all kinds of work for all kinds of medical offices. Now, I have one doctor who refuses to let drug reps in the door. And I was always like, what's with that? For me, as a staff member, as her lead nurse, I was like, why wouldn't you want them in here? Like, they bring us lunches, they invite us to dinners, they give us cool gifts. Yeah, that's how big pharma works. They go in and they schmooze the doctors, and the doctors don't even know as much about those medications as the pharma reps do. By the way, I had 2 family members that worked for big pharma as well. So I know a little bit, I'm going to say, okay. And I would not go that route. You were given metformin, but refused to take it. Okay. I've taken berberine and holy basil, and A1C lowered 2 points. That's great. And for some people that works. I did berberine. I did turmeric for my joints. None of that worked for me. So you guys, all I do now is this. We're going to go over 6 simple steps that I do, and then I'm going to tell you about what it is I do. Not trying to throw a curveball. What about lymphatic system? Isn't this to do with inflammation? So, okay, Melba, hang on to that. I'm going to talk about the system really quick, and then we're going to come back to lymphatic system and inflammation. So, I did all of that, Miss Kitty, and you know what? For the people who can do it, however you do it, that's fine, and I applaud that. But it didn't work for me, and I was frustrated and getting more and more sick. I lost 3 joints. My blood pressure wouldn't come down. My A1C was continuing to climb. My depression, anxiety, panic attacks, brain fog, all of that was getting worse. I had skin tags everywhere. I had dark skin patches. I had inflammation throughout my body. You couldn't even see my knee joints. They were swollen like little grapefruits. But so all I did was I stumbled on this system right here, like you guys are, and it's 2 real food products. Now, the company that does this is science backed. So it's not a company that says, oop, berberine is the next greatest thing, so let's put out a berberine product. Or turmeric is the next biggest thing that everybody's talking about, let's do a turmeric product. Our company is dedicated to metabolic health, and we have consultations with doctors like Dr. Bickman, Dr. Jenny Brand Miller from the hospital that does the glycemic index. So we have a lot of science behind the products that we put out before they get put out. So the system is this: a tea that I drink in the morning and a pre-meal drink that I drink before anything I eat, along with these 6 principles of fiber first. And then we prioritize protein, okay, because we're not getting in enough protein, most of us. I'm not saying, there's people who have said eat 150 grams of protein in a sitting. That's a whole other conversation. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Prioritize protein, eat healthy fats. Protein and fats need to go together. If you're eating a lot of protein and not getting in enough fats, that's danger zone, okay? And I can explain that in a bit if anybody wants to know. So fiber, protein, fats. Then limit your carbs. And so what I want you to understand is you have 3 macros. You have carbohydrates, you have proteins, and you have fats. So if it's not a fat and it's not a protein, it is a carbohydrate. So you need to switch. So fruits, vegetables, grains, all of that are carbohydrates. So limit the carbohydrates. Fiber, protein, fats, limit the carbohydrates. Stop eating so damn much is the next one. So don't eat every 2 hours. Do some intermittent fasting. Our bodies are built for it, okay? And I'll explain that if anybody needs to know that as well. Then move your body. We have become a society that's so sedentary. That's part of our problem. So we have food that's imperfect, that's been modified and stripped and changed from what we're doing or what we should have. And then we're sitting on our butts all day. We're sitting in front of computers, and I'm guilty too, you guys. I get busy, I have ADD, I hyper-focus, all of a sudden it's the end of the day and I haven't gone to the gym. So I have to set timers on my phone, and it's like, get up and walk. Go do Qigong. Go to the gym. It doesn't have to be long, arduous workouts, but you've got to start moving your body if you want to become insulin sensitive. Now, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're in a state where you're in just so much pain that that's hard. I had somebody and I was so happy because they were like, I can't get up and walk, but Misha, I listened to you. So I found some exercises and I'm doing all this arm movement. Guess what? That person is going to start getting better as their health gets better. I'm not going to say they're going to be miraculously cured, but their life is going to feel better because their a body in motion is a body that's more insulin sensitive. So BIMSY, I'm not sure what the question mark. Oh, the name of the company is Unicity, and it's been around since 1903 in its parent form of Rexall drug. So the system that I'm about to show you was offered up in Walgreens and Walmart, but what we found is that without the kind of personal it's direct sales. So without the kind of personal attention that you get when you have a coach like me, then people just don't understand the system and they're not getting the results they need, or they're not encouraged to stay consistent. So yeah. So it's a tea that I drink in the morning, and this tea gives me mental clarity and energy. It's a natural tea from Argentina. The Argentinian soccer team uses this tea, not our tea, but this tea for their team as they're competing. They flew in hundreds of pounds of it to the World Cup while they compete. So it is, one of them is balance. Yes. So the tea in the morning gives me energy, gives me mental clarity, gives me physical energy. It has been proven to increase physical performance and endurance by 10 to 13%. As a former athlete, a power lifter at a world level, I look at 10% added onto any one of my lifts would have been huge, would have been huge. And it's been shown to do that. So we have a number of athletes who are using the system because it's actually helped them gain lean muscle, lose the excess fat, have more energy without anything that's going to create a drug test failure, because it's food. Okay. So tea in the morning, it's helping me burn fat for fuel. It's helping me stay full because I'm burning fat for fuel. So I'm not thinking about food, and I'm not lacking energy, and I'm not lacking mental clarity. Then when I do eat 2 meals a day, I have a balance beforehand. And that, what it is it's a multi blend of specific fibers that will balloon up or gel up in your gut. So it starts to make you feel full before you even eat. It creates a protective layer in your belly so that you are encapsulating the food and slowing it down as it delivers into the body. And then because it's slowing that down, you're not getting the sugar spikes, you're not getting the insulin spikes. In fact, there's studies that show that this one packet reduces a blood sugar spike by 27%. So that's huge when it comes to metabolic health. Now it's holding on to that food and delivering it into your system more slowly, so you stay fuller longer. So instead of having this meal that you're like, oh, I got to unbuckle my pants, I got, all this going on. And then a half an hour later, you're like, I need a snack. That doesn't happen. You stay fuller longer. I'm doing a different type of fasting right now, and I have a hard time in the 12-hour window that I'm allowed to eat on the days that I eat. I have a hard time getting my 3 meals in because I'm so full. So it's not just a calorie reduction thing, you guys. Let's not go there. So Dr. Giles Yao wrote this book, and it's in my recommendations list, called Why Calories Don't Count, How We Got It Wrong. So all these people who are like, it's just simply counting calories. No, it's not. They had me on restrictive calorie diets. We did all the stuff, and I still wasn't able to lose weight or get better. Now I feel better. I've lost over 50 pounds. I am still working on my health, but all of this stuff was me, and all of that stuff is either markedly better or gone, except for gout and Parkinson's. Never had those. Okay. So there's that. Because I don't want to worry about getting in the fibers, I supplement. That's the system. If you need to know where to find it, go to my profile and find it there. And there's also places for you to WhatsApp me and ask me questions, and I'm down with that too. So back to Melba's question about the lymphatic system. So yes, inflammation is rampant in the body. And the crazy thing with inflammation and insulin resistance is this. Insulin resistance can cause inflammation, but inflammation can cause insulin resistance. So you guys understand that every time you have an injury, that and I cannot spout off the exact mechanism because it's a lot for my little brain to hold. I'll have to do some reading and find the articles, the peer-reviewed articles that talk about it, and then I can give a more full answer to it. But know that through the gut microbiome being jacked up with insulin resistance, too much sugar in the system, you have this gut microbiome that's unstable, and that's causing inflammation. So not only is it affecting your lymphatic system, because when you have a gut that's one of the largest organs you have, and it's sick, it starts leaching that out into all your other organs. And that includes your bloodstream and your lymphatic system. So when your lymphatic system has inflammation, then you start having a lot of other problems. Again, that's not my wheelhouse, but I need to look at it because I've been asked that before. So I'm going to write that one down too, Melba, because I want to give you a real answer. I do know that they're linked. So let's go back to inflammation though. So when you have surgery, that healing period that you have coming back from surgery, if you're not getting the right foods in, you can become more insulin resistant after that. Head injuries can cause damage in the brain that can actually trigger some insulin resistance. There's just so many things like that. Trauma in the body through raising cortisol levels can cause insulin resistance. And that's another one. Insulin resistance can cause elevated cortisol levels, and chronically elevated cortisol levels can lead to insulin resistance. So, is this a holistic thing that we need to take care of instead of just a shot to take care of an A1C? I would think that we want to look at the holistic part of it. Because if you're having cortisol levels, you're probably having insulin problems. Okay. So, and yeah, I'm going to go back to that one thing. I'm going to talk about that because I don't ever try to hide it. This is direct sales. I am not ever going to pressure somebody to do what I do. If they choose to, great. And is there anything wrong with doing direct sales? Absolutely not. You guys don't seem to have a problem. I worked in doctor's offices with a pharmaceutical company who's buying components, paying scientists, paying salesmen, paying all the way along the way, paying a kickback to doctors to get it into a pharmacy so that you can buy a drug. And you don't think that that's multi-level. I don't know. It's all in your own perspective, I guess. So I just know that this is helping people, and we've saved so many lives. And I have people who call me every day and are like, I am so thankful that I found this. Cindy and my good friend here, and there's one that's not up here, his name is Jason. They all would tell you they're very, very thankful because they didn't go have gastric bypass surgery. They didn't go on any of those medications. They got their health back instead of losing some weight but damaging their health. So there's all of that. Now, does anybody have any questions about what insulin resistance is? Or Lori Dickerson, that name, the last name, my daughter had a friend, her name was Julia Dickerson, and I don't see that name very often, so sorry, you caught my eye. Any other questions about insulin resistance, what it causes? This week, I'm going to be doing a number of videos about mental health. So anxiety, depression, panic attacks. I did a brief one yesterday on panic attacks. Alzheimer's is called type 3 diabetes for a reason. And do you know that even Parkinson's, the science is starting to lead to the fact that they're now recognizing that insulin resistance, they're not there yet. So I don't want to but watch over the next 10 to 15 years, because they're starting to say that Parkinson's is much more linked to insulin resistance than anyone ever thought before. I know I am high functioning autistic, so is my daughter. I worked with autistic people for years. I know that when my diet and my insulin levels are under control, I feel better. I know that my patients did better when I could get the rest of the staff to control their diet and get them more insulin sensitive through the 6 simple principles I talk about. So it leads to that. There's also, I've been doing some studies because somebody like you guys brought to me some information that said that they're linking insulin resistance to autism in children born with women who are highly insulin resistant when they're pregnant. And I was like, what? I haven't heard that. So I went on a search, and sure enough, there are studies, and I cannot remember, but they were credible sources, not just some offshoot source like the NIH or something like that, where these studies were posted. So there's a link to all of those things. Gout, there's a link to gout and kidney issues. So I'm getting more of the success stories up. One that I love so much is Coach Hoyd. He had stage 3 kidney disease. He had gout. He had hypertension. He was diabetic. his health was failing. He's lost like 70 pounds, does not have a gout flare in years, has his hypertension under control, no longer has stage 3 kidney failure, and was on his road to having dialysis and no longer has to have dialysis, which reminds me, I was speaking with someone yesterday whose husband, I can't help, but we're going to work on helping them from here on out. So you guys, I've lost 3 joints and my gallbladder to insulin resistance. And so it's super important that we take care of our health and understand why we're getting sick, and that it's all, a lot of this is reversible. You guys, how many of you guys have been told that once you're diabetic, type 2 I'm talking, that it's not reversible, that it's long term, that it's chronic, that it's progressive? How many people have heard that and understood that that's that? Or how many of you guys think that once your joints start failing, as in osteoarthritis, that that can't be reversed? I had like 3 different doctors tell me it could be reversed, but nobody had a clear path for me how, and I kept trying different things. As a result, I ended up with joints that I had both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis in my joints. Both of my hips have been replaced. I've had one knee that's been replaced. And now my right knee was supposed to be replaced in 2022. It no longer needs to be replaced. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't pop. It doesn't click. The last x-rays we took, the meniscal space was leveled out instead of tilting, because one side of the meniscus was wearing out. So it actually has regenerated, and we're not having that knee surgery now. I wish I would have known this information 10 years ago. It may have saved me from ever having any joint replacements in the first place. So crazy story, Melba, I don't know if you've heard this one, but when I had my first hip replacement, I was allergic to, felt like everything under the sun. And I don't know whether they overdosed me or whether they just gave me a medication that I was allergic to, but I actually saw the light, the whole thing, felt myself pulled back into my body. I died on the operating table. So that first hip replacement surgery went really bad, because then this thing that was supposed to be a 3-inch incision front and back ended up being a 16-inch arching scar across my left glute. Looks like a shark took a bite out of me, because the surgeon literally just like ripped me open to finish up the surgery and put me back together, put my leg on crooked. A number of things happened, cut into a bunch of ligaments that make it really, I can't do leg raises because it's painful. Those are just gone now. So would I want somebody to not ever have to go through that kind of stuff or put themselves at that kind of risk? Yeah. My story is pretty wide ranging, but it took me a long time to even be able to walk upstairs, because I couldn't lift that leg to walk up and down stairs. And then I would trip over that foot. That's how that's part of how my other knee had to get replaced, because I was tripping over that foot all the time, because I used to be duck-toed. Duck-toed. So my feet would go out. After that surgery, my feet literally went like this. If I was going this way, my feet were going this way, because I still had a duck-toed foot, and the other one they made pigeon-toed. So that foot I tripped over all the time, and it tore up that knee, and I ended up having to have it replaced. Crazy little story that I don't tell very often. I would not ever try Mounjaro or Ozempic for the insulin resistance, because it can be so damaging to the body. And again, with insulin resistance, I don't think you must not have been in here, Dana, but insulin resistance means that we're having too much insulin in the body already. And we're just not, and part of the reason we're having too much insulin is because food is converting into energy too quickly. So the real root cause is that we don't have enough fiber in the foods that we're eating, and it's allowing food to turn into energy too quickly. That's not true. Wow, you guys. But thank you for the content. So Mounjaro and Ozempic are forcing your pancreas to put out even more of a hormone that you're already resistant to. And so that's likely to put a load on your pancreas that you don't want. The only way to make diabetes better is to take medication the doctor prescribes. All right, so let's take a poll. Has anybody ever heard of somebody being cured from diabetes by taking a medication? Has anybody? anybody ever been cured or reversed their diabetes by taking medication? No. Jane, I would love to know that person because I've never heard of it. The only way to reverse diabetes is to put, so is he still on medication? Is he still on medication? So Dana, that's great for you, but I'm going to tell you that for no 2 years free. What medication was he given? So you guys, what I want to tell you is if you're not addressing the food that's going into your mouth, that you're going to end up insulin resistant again. And so, yeah, the system that I'm doing, will I do it the rest of my life? Yes. Am I medication free? I went off of all medications over 2 years ago because those medications were not reversing my diabetes, but this did completely reversed it. Jane, your son would be an anomaly because even Dr. Bickman talks about those medications, and the diabetic nurses that I work with, all of those would say that he must have done more than metformin because metformin doesn't cure diabetes. All right, so do I do intermittent fasting? Yes, I do. I want to go back to Dana. So I'm great that like you must love Monjaro, but Monjaro, I've had people call me and tell me they've lost their thyroid and had their thyroid damaged. I've had people tell me that it damaged their kidneys. I've had people that told me that it gave them liver problems. I've had people that told me that it gave them gastroparesis. Now, along the way, part of the action of what Monjaro is doing is you're losing muscle tissue to lose that weight. Okay, so plus we've already talked about this a little bit. When you do those medications, you run the risk of having your fat cells duplicate. So now over time, it may not happen right away, but over time, a lot of those people who are doing those, and Monjaro's new, so we haven't had the long term with that. So that's good. That's good. And I'm very happy for you for that. But wrong host. Jane went, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. So I would never recommend it. Here's the thing. I'm going to trust my guy who's the top metabolic scientist in the world. And he says, don't ever let your loved ones go on those medications. Okay? Right. So I don't like medications, Dana. I have some Tylenol in the house for emergencies, but I don't do medications. You come through my house, there's the biggest thing in my house is some Benadryl and a little bit of Tylenol. That's it. I don't have any medications in my house other than that because I don't like what they do for the body. 2 family members worked for Big Pharma. I worked in medical offices, and I would not recommend it. And when I listen to doctors like Fung and doctors like Bickman and doctors like Pradeep, none of them would recommend medications for these purposes because of the long-term effects that they can see. So the name of this book, and you guys can get it, it's called Why We Get Sick. If you can just Google it, but in my recommendations page in my profile, Dr. Bickman's book is there, Dr. Fung's books, the diabetes code and the obesity code are there, and neither one of them recommend those medications for a various amount of reasons and how damaging that those can be to your system. So, so what did I do? After those medications, now I didn't do Ozempic or Monjaro or any of those. Like I'm like anybody else. Would it be amazing to lose the weight? Yeah, but I was already having problems with my liver and whatnot, so I just didn't want to do that. This is scientific research, honey. He references a number of scientific papers, and so does Dr. Fung, and so does Dr. Pradeep, and so do a number of other doctors that say the same thing that I'm saying. So there's that. Now, what I did was I chose the natural route because I don't want to put those chemically medication things in my body, right? I just don't want that. I don't want something that's tearing my system down. And look, I'll tell that story in a minute. All right. So what I did is I do a tea that I drink in the morning. Why the tea in the morning? Because it gives me energy. It gives me mental clarity. It helps me through a short fasted state, a 16/8 fast, by allowing me to burn my own fat for fuel when I'm already in that fasted state. And then it's giving me the physical energy without crashes, but it also gives antioxidant effects. It gives anti-cancer properties. It has neuroprotective gene expression in the brain. It has components in it that are some of the only components that can get through to the blood-brain barrier. Now, when you have insulin resistance, that blood-brain barrier is being damaged. So it's helping with all of that. That's just the tea that I have in the morning, which is what I'm drinking now. After about 16 hours of fasting, I'll have two meals. Two meals. I don't do snacking. And then I have a pre-meal drink before my first meal, 10 minutes before, wait 6 hours, have my second meal, and I have another pre-meal drink. I'm not suffering. I'm not living without the things I love. I just do that. Now, the pre-meal drink gives me 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers that allow my body to slow down the delivery of carbs and fats into my system. So it helps me feel full before I eat, so I'm less likely to overeat. It slows down that delivery, so it reduces a blood sugar spike by 27%. Then it holds on to that food for a little bit longer, so that's part of how it's slowing down that blood sugar spike, and it's delivering it into the system more steadily. So now you stay fuller longer. Cole Roberts snake diet. It doesn't look like anything you're doing is working. Do better fasting. It doesn't look like anything I'm doing is working. Wow. So you know what? I love when people hop on. Number one, I have a pretty big chest. Okay. So that's what you guys see. I've lost 50 pounds. I've reversed my diabetes. I've reversed my hypertension. Those things are more important to me than your opinion. But I'm also postmenopausal. I've also had my gallbladder removed. I also have a number of other things. Um, so you don't know anybody else's medical history without knowing. By the way, what you missed, user 9, whatever, I had doctors, we did all the tests, saliva. Sorry, you guys are not getting all this. Cole Roberts snake diet. I don't know what he's saying. Doesn't look like anything I'm doing is working, is what he said, and do better fasting. So I'm actually doing a 36 and 12 fasting for 30 days. You have no idea about my medical history. And so that's not a great look for you. Sleep in 06 says I'm on metformin and Monjaro, active, but now just strong and fat. Haha. So, it's crazy. I must be doing a good job to get all the crazies come out of the woodwork at me. So that's all I know. Menopause is complete BS. With that person has to go. So anybody who comes on and tells me that the pausing of my hormones being produced is BS is somebody that I'm never gonna get through to anyway. So bye. All right. So that's what was going on over here. And so you guys, menopause is real, and it does affect a lot going on in your body. Also, so does genetics. And it's not working for me. That was me. You guys don't have that picture up over here. So this was me on the left-hand side. I've lost 50 pounds. I've gained my health back. I'm able to go up and down stairs. I was able to get rid of a walker and a cane. Just all kinds of things that were impossible 2 years ago. So yes, it's working. This is a good friend of mine who's lost over 50 pounds. This is another friend who's lost 120 pounds with the same system. We all have different struggles with our health, and we're all at different stages in life. And that's the thing. You cannot judge yourself based on what someone else is doing, or how their health looks. Melba says she went into the ER for emergency gallbladder surgery. They gave her a pain shot. I thought they were giving her another something for pain because it was back to back, and instantly threw up. The night before I was to go home, my night nurse quietly recalled the incident. I said yes, and what it did. He said they gave me a shot of Haldol. I know it was a psychotic drug. He didn't even know why they did that. It freaked her out, and she knew about the drug because it was given to her dad in a nursing home, and it was awful. Yeah, drugs are just way too handed out. Um, oh, okay. Yeah, it didn't sound, I wasn't quite sure. Menopause is BS. It had to have been a guy, right, ladies? It had to have been a guy, but he's gone. So, I want to tell you, Sleeping, I'm going to apologize because I misread it. I was in the heat of all of this stuff coming at me. So when nothing else worked for me, I and look, I did not do all those medications because I have, look, if you were able to look at the PDR, they've changed it now. So a number of those things that were in there before are not being listed now, which is sad. It's sad because now you don't know all the damage that it can be causing to your body. They've changed it in the last, I don't know, 3 months. But when it was all up, you could see, and I wish I would have known because I would have screenshot all those things, but you could see all the places where it talked about thyroid damage, where it talked about liver damage, where it talked about kidney damage, where it talked about these other things, and that you shouldn't be doing those drugs if you have those problems. And yet people are being pushed these drugs. So I went the natural route. I just do a natural tea that's really highly concentrated, 375 times the components in this tea than in a normal bagged tea, and it's been purified, so the environmental toxins, pesticides have been removed. Um, Debbie, thank you. No, I'm not gonna, nobody's gonna put me in a corner. Look, I have a life that, number one, I've lived a life that that man could not even imagine living. He would probably be in a dark corner in a ball of tears if he'd gone through, you guys only know like a little bit of what my life has been. So yeah, he can literally kiss my butt. Um, The fasting method. So sure. So the fasting method we do, and I listen to a lot of physicians talk about this. Now, one of them is Mindy Pelz. If you guys don't know her, it's Pelz. Please follow her on YouTube. She deals a lot, especially with women. And if you're still having a cycle, um, then you want to follow her. She'll tell you how to fast through your cycle and make it appropriate for a woman. That's very different from men. Women and men lose weight very differently. We deal with our health very differently. It's crazy. I had a guy on here. It's always the guys, right? A guy asked me how a woman's body knows to convert androgens into estrogens and a man's body doesn't do the same thing. I just don't understand them. All right. So, what are my fats I use and the protein I eat for diet? We'll get to that one. The fasting. So, normally I would be doing a 16-8 fast. That works for me. I'm 59. That method works for me. Um, it did for 2 years. I had the gallbladder removed. I started having gastric problems or gastritis. I had a number of other issues, inflammation throughout the body. But 16-8. So I finish eating at 6. I don't eat again for 16 hours. But if at 6 p.m. I'm done eating and I don't snack, then at 6 a.m. I've already gone 12 hours of fasting. At 10 a.m. I'm now 16 hours of fasting, right? They don't understand us. So the thing is, at hour 14 is when your fat burning really starts to ramp up. You're kind of getting a trickle of fat burning between hours 12 and 14, but hour 14 is when it really shifts into high gear, and now you have a lot of fat burning going on. So we want to utilize those 2 hours between hour 14 and hour 16 to continue to clear out. Then we eat at hour 16, and I want to go over how you should eat and when you should eat because I know some of my cohorts in their zest to do well have gotten it wrong, and I want to clear that up. Okay. But so I have 2 meals. Now, my first meal is high protein, high fats. because earlier in the day, your body will convert glucose at a much more rapid rate than it will later in the day. So in my first meal, I want to have foods that are not converting to glucose as quickly in the first place. So it helps keep that glucose spike down. So my first meal would generally be something like a couple of eggs and a sausage or two, and that's it. Sometimes I'll add a pear in. Then my second meal, even though it's later in the day, I allow myself to have carbohydrates. Circadian rhythm, cortisol levels, all of that. Your body will convert those carbohydrates less rapidly in the afternoon than it will in the morning. And there's something linked to that called the dawn phenomenon. So there's all of that. So that's how I do it, and it's super simple. The first few weeks I was on the system, I would go 19 and 20 hours without even thinking about eating because my body wasn't used to all of that. So that now I'm doing a very different type of fasting, and I don't want to scare anybody because nobody else has to do this. But Mindy Pels talks about shifting your fasting. Our body gets used to anything it does when we do it for a long time. So even the 16/8 fast, maybe it's just that you fast for a full day, a day, and then you go back. Maybe you just shift it up for a week and then you go back. Allow your body to kind of have a shock effect of, oh, this is different. I need to pay attention to what we're doing again. For me, I lost my gallbladder. Pamela, we're going to talk about that. There is, if you go, I'll put the link in here. I have a free ebook that you can download that will tell you how to eat and what to eat and the fats and the proteins and all of that. If you go to that link, you'll find the ebook that tells you all the steps, and we're going to go over those in a minute anyway, but that way you have it. So, where was I? I distract myself. So fasting. I'm doing a 36 and 12 fast for 30 days right now. Yeah, because I want to lose some weight. Yeah, because I have other health issues like having my gallbladder yanked. So when my gallbladder, I love how I call it yanked, because that's what they did, right? So if you don't have to have your gallbladder pulled, please don't do it. Find other alternatives. Do what's right for you, but understand that that little tiny organ that sits underneath your liver does a lot more than they're going to tell you. And science, now that I understand, because it took about a year, I was a little bit smaller 2 years ago, not a lot, but a little bit. And I started having problems with weight, and I started having problems with gastritis, and I was having weird pains, and I was having inflammation. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then I started doing research into the gallbladder. Now, women who have their gallbladder removed, because we translate hormones differently than men, we now have more problems with insulin resistance. It becomes even harder for us to manage this. It becomes even harder for us to lose weight or maintain our weight. In fact, most women who've had their gallbladder removed gain a lot of weight afterward. So I'm just going to say, do a lot of research before they just before you just let them take your gallbladder out. So now I do bile salts and digestive enzymes when I eat, so I don't have those gastritis attacks. Now I'm seeing inflammation leaving my body again. The 36/12. Because when your gallbladder is sick and you've had it removed, it means that your liver has been sick for a long time. So I'm like, I've already had enough go on in my body. I've already had too much happen that I'm trying to come back from. And so I want to heal my liver. So I continue to do the system because I understand that this little system, these 3 little packets that I do in a day, continue to protect me no matter what else is going on. This is not an end all be all. I always say it's like clear the elephant out of the room and then see what's left. And so that's what I'm doing with this fasting now. The 36/12. Sorry, I keep getting off track. At 24 hours, you have this great state of autophagy starting. And autophagy means that your body, it's not eating up its own muscle cells. It's not doing any of that, but it's clearing out toxins and what they would call junk cells from your body. So between hours 24 and 36, my body's doing a lot of cleanup internally. So that means pulling out cells that are dying and need to go anyway. That means pulling out inflammatory cells that have been stored, toxins that have been stored. It means that my gut is resetting and my stem cells in my gut are starting to regrow. It means a lot of that's happening. At hour 36 is when it's at about its highest for that turnover. So at about hour 36, because I want to make this sustainable, I break my fast. Now, on the 12-hour day, I still am not doing snacking. I've tried because I want to see what happens, right? So I've had days where I ate really clean. I've had days where I ate somewhere in between. And then I've had days where it was just like whatever I want. I do notice that I'm more reactive to sugars and fats now than ever before after getting my gut cleaned up. My gut's like, what are you putting that crap back in my body for? Okay, so there's that. Mentally, I don't want some of those foods anymore. In fact, I shared last week, I went with my family. I brought up Indian food. We made some of it. I brought some, but there's a spinach salad that I've fallen in love with. So we had cupcakes for dessert, and there was some leftover spinach salad. And when everybody sat down for dessert, I decided to have the spinach salad, not because I was trying to do so much better for my body, because I really craved that salad more than I even wanted a cupcake. But on the eating days, which today is a fasting day, tomorrow will be a fed day, I allow myself to eat what I want. But what I'm doing is I've created some shakes that have high protein, high fat. The base is pretty similar, and I'm playing with different components of it. But I have that high protein, high fat, low carbohydrate shake first thing in the morning. And it's based on real foods. It's not based on a lot of powders and stuff. But then I will still have my like sausage and eggs for lunch, and then I will have whatever I want for dinner. Last night I had a keto dinner from Factor. I use Factor a lot because I live alone. I like to cook, but I don't always get cooked through all the food. So it was Monterey chicken. So it was a chicken with an amazing sauce, and then it had some spinach, some riced cauliflower, and almonds and whatnot. Amazing dish for dinner last night. I don't suffer. I don't eat bland. I don't, none of that. But I've still been able to overcome all of that. And my sleep apnea. You guys, I would used to wake up 60 times an hour, and I no longer have those issues. I sleep through the night. I now wake up maybe once a night because I hydrate so much that I use the restroom, I don't know, about 2, 3 a.m. And then I go back to bed and fall right back asleep. That's unusual. That hasn't happened for me since my 20s. So all of that is due to the system. So I'm going to get ready to hop off. Thanks, you guys, for all hanging out. I want to show you where to find the system. Yeah, and let's take a look. They're not here, but I don't care. We're going to take a look at some things right now. So if we go to my profile, if you tap on my profile picture, a box will come up. Tap on that again, and that's going to take you to my profile page here on what I want to do is flip the camera, not be messing with all this. Okay, so you're going to go to my profile on TikTok here, and it's going to look a little something like this. So you'll see the red lights right there. You'll see the link right under it. Yours will look black. Mine is red because it's my own profile. And then that will take you to this page. You can order the system here. I have a website that talks about all of it, a bunch of videos on the science behind it. The free simple steps ebook for the person who is asking about how to eat. That ebook goes over all of that. My other channels that I'm available on. So if you click on the top one, this is the products. It's tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before you eat anything. Yes, it is direct sales. So you want to make sure it says Michelle Fayon at the top. That's going to get you linked to me and get you all the information that I will send you texts, emails, videos on how to do the product, all of that. Plus you get to reach out to me whenever you need me, and never hesitate. And then so you get 30 tea, 60 of the balance, and you can choose your flavors on the tea. You can have that hot or cold, lemon or lemon ginger. You guys, I would just leave it where it's at for your first order until you get used to everything and decide what you like. But I would just start with the lemon and the apple crush. The apple crush is a little tart. The orange taste is a little less tart, not tart at all. It tastes more like an orange Julius. Um, and then I would leave it on subscription because you're saving $5. You can cancel it at any time, but you also get free delivery, which means that you're saving another $10. And as a gift to you, they give you this free hand mixer the first month. So that's that, where to order it. And if you have questions about any of that, you let me know. But look, we have an entire science page. See if I can narrow this down so you guys can see it. Called Unicity Science. There's a ton of research on all of these products and how this specific fiber and program helps with cardiometabolic health. It helps with cardiovascular risk, and just on and on and on. That's Unicity Science, and it has more and more papers on all the benefits of the fiber and the yerba mate all across the board. So, and it can be found in the pdr.net. I didn't show that. So it is found in the pdr.net, and it is prescribable. So here's the thing, because it's in the pdr.net, your physician can prescribe it. Whether your insurance covers it or not is up to your insurance. There's not a lot that I can do or say to help that. You get your doctor to write the prescription, you buy it, you turn that receipt into the insurance. Some insurances have been covering it, and so there you have that. I do not use a CPAP now. So Linda's asking me, do I use a CPAP? No. In fact, let's talk about that. Pamela, I missed some questions or some replies from you, so let's go over those things. I love to answer questions. Thanks, Miss Kim. You love the Red Crush and the pink lemonade. I do too. I think that they may be coming out with peach next. I haven't got to try that one. I tried all the others. I can't wait to taste that one. I love peaches. So I'm going to be here for just a second because I need to answer some questions that I missed over on Facebook. So Pam's asking, just asked for a full blood screen to come off of levothyroxine, and it's giving her heart palpitations. So fasting is going to be a thing for her. She needs to go to the gym, but it makes you hungrier. Yeah, that can happen, especially when you're insulin resistant. Now, I would be, Pamela, reach out to me. You guys, I really have to do a better job of getting the success stories put into places where you guys can find them, because I know I have thousands of videos out there, but there are a number of women, including myself, who are able to come off their levothyroxine with both Hashimoto's and low thyroid, who have gotten better by doing this system. Yeah, so what really helped me, Pamela, is actually using the system, because it's not just about how you eat, it's understanding that our modern food environment is so changed that it's causing problems for even people who are eating all raw, clean food. So and then back to the CPAP. So the interesting thing with the CPAP was there's this thing called fat tongue. So when we talk about visceral fat, it's the fat that builds up under your belly muscle, right? Under all of this here, and makes your belly pooch out. But what a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't understand either until several months ago, was that visceral fat can build up in your tongue. And now you end up with this thing called fat tongue. It's not the same fat as the other fat on your body. For me, my tongue was so fat that when I would fall asleep at night, it would literally, even with the CPAP, it would fall back and obstruct my airway. So a CPAP was making it worse. I would actually wake up going because CPAP had forced my tongue into my throat. So I never did use a CPAP, and I don't use one now. The 2 meals I have, are they high in fiber? Not necessarily, Richard. My first meal is usually 2 eggs and some type of meat. Sometimes it's steak, sometimes it's sausage. I do get the no nitrate stuff, right? But, and then a lot of times I'll have a pear afterward. But I just precede my meal with this fiber. I was actually listening to research from somebody that's not even in our company, and they were talking about how the right kinds of fiber, when they tell you you have to have all of this fiber in your day, it's based on the fact that most people are going to have to get that amount of fiber and to get the right fibers in. And they were saying that even 3 grams of the right fibers are going to do so much better for you, because I don't want to have to worry about preparing all of that and fixing it. I just supplement. So this has 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in it, specifically designed for our metabolism and slowing down blood sugar spikes. That's all I do. If I have a meal that's high in carbohydrates, I may have 2 of these beforehand to give me that extra added oomph for slowing down those carbohydrates. So like pastas that don't have a lot of meat in them, but a lot of carbs, I'll just do 2 of these. Also, if I have a meal and I do this, and then like my kids always like to wait an hour before they have their dessert, I'll just have another one of these before I have dessert, and that's it. Um, so my 2 meals on a normal day. Oh, I want to address that. So I already said sausage, 2 eggs, maybe a pear, sometimes berries at that first meal. The second meal, like last night, was chicken, spinach, cauliflower. I will probably get more fiber and carbohydrates in on the second meal, but also if I want to have a croissant or something with dinner at that meal, I will. It just makes it easy. The system makes it so simple and easy to maintain all of this lifestyle without feeling like you can't do it. Because I did keto and really strict eating. I even did veganism for a year, and it was hard because you go places and people are like, they don't know what to feed you. Eventually they stop inviting you. You're not you're trying to pre-game by eating before you go because you know they're not going to have what you need, what you can eat. And so part of the goal with the system is, do I advocate for healthy eating? Absolutely. But when you're having, like when you're going to a wedding and they have all the appetizers and the cake and the whatnot, and you're just enjoying your family, and you don't want to be the one weirdo who's like, nope, I can't enjoy this with you. I just use the tools and it helps me through all of that. Whether we're on birthdays, whether we're traveling, whether whatever, I just take the system with me. And again, I'm going to go back to that more than my weight. It's managed everything else in my system. So having a blood pressure that I wake up to at 112 over 74 every single day, as opposed to 180 over 150, that's gold. That means it did work for me. So that's the kind of changes that I'm looking at. I don't have leg cramps every morning anymore. I don't have the joint pain. I don't have the extreme brain fog. I don't have the sleep apnea. Just on and on and on. All my skin tags are gone. The dark coloration around my skin is gone. So it's all gotten much better just by doing the system. Okay, guys, I will be back about 3. I'm actually looking at switching that time up a little. I'm not sure how long I'm going to continue to go live at 3. If there's a time that works better for you guys, let me know, because I want to be here when you are available to be here. And I'm not sure that 3 works for everyone. So give me some feedback. Mrs. Kim, thanks for your one thing before I go, Mrs. Kim. What were you suffering with before you started the system? What had you started, and what have you noticed that's different for you? Yeah, so that's the thing, Linda. All of these things can work, right? But what I want is for people to understand that it needs to be sustainable and livable. Most of us just, our willpower is used up by dealing with our families, all the activities we have going on, our bosses, the commute back and forth to work. Willpower is a limited resource. And so when it comes to our food, it's usually the last place we use that resource. And if it's not sustainable, it's just not going to work long term. This has been sustainable. I have clients who've been doing it for almost as long as me, and they say the same thing as me. They will never not utilize it because they recognize how much it's done for their health. So if you're interested in it, Linda, just reach out to me or hop on another live, and I'm okay. Listen, hang out as long as you need to. Um, I chose to do it right away because I felt like I was backed into a corner with my health, and that if I didn't do something, I wasn't going to be here for very much longer. So I just dove in and said, it has a 90-day money back guarantee. I'm going to do it. What have I got to lose? It's not medications that's damaging me. I may as well give it a shot. And here I am 2.5 years later. So, all right, guys, with that, I am going to go. I have several meetings I got to go get ready for. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you this afternoon.